right, back in the saddle. Get Warrior Tough, the most monumental hour in media anywhere. PR, leadership, mental toughness coaches Andrew Wittman and the Dutch Coleman. Hey, guys, if you want to join the conversation, you only got 15 minutes left. 855-856-1380. Hashtag Get Warrior Tough at Twitter. Find Dutch at the Dutch Coleman. And I'm at Warrior Tough PhD. Go to the website, www.getwarriortough.com. Register to get the free ebook, Elusive Secret of Peak Performers. And also, grace us with your awful boss story. That's kind of, Dutch, the stuff that we've been talking about here tonight, it kind of leads into, and the reason this stuff happens is because there is weak leadership. I hate to say awful bosses, but they're not awesome bosses. So, but it's because weak leadership allows this stuff to go on. And people just, I've heard this so many times from corporate executives, man. I just want the noise to stop. Like, they don't want to fix the problem. They don't have a strategic vision. They don't have a direction. They just want the noise to stop. And so we're just going to keep the plate spinning as long as we can and hope nothing crashes.
Yeah, I hate to go back to leadership, but that's where it begins. That's where everything begins, right? I mean, doesn't it start with leadership?
Yeah.
And so when you begin to look at, again, we addressed in the last segment, the reaction of the leadership of the academy to this was just as bad as the reaction of the people who feel harmed calling boycott.
Right.
And so you have these two forces fighting each other, and they're both reacting with the same type of emotional drivers instead of sitting at the table and trying to figure out, well, what's the problem?
And what's the solution?
And what's the solution?
Right.
Because we discussed some things that are actual topics that people can discuss and make some progress that doesn't harm anybody, and it just makes sense. What is your vision? What is the Academy's vision with respect to honoring these actors, these directors, these writers, screenplay, film, cinematographer? What is your vision? What is your goal? And then go from there.
Right. What's their charter?
And
what's the whole point?
That are feeling harmed a part of it.
Yeah, because isn't the point to, and again, right, they have to revamp their charter.
Exactly.
And
so now once.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
So now doesn't inclusion begin there? If I include you in the and I let you know from the beginning what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're doing it. So from the very beginning, you see that you have a chance built in. That we're not. This isn't against you. I'm giving you a peek behind the curtain to show you how we're doing things, how we're building this sucker, so you won't feel left out. Right now, there's a lot of secrecy. There's a lot of old ways that are being done here when we're in a much more open society. So include them on the foundational part of it, and say, look, this is why we're doing it. This is what we're doing. This is why, and this is how.
Yeah, and I think that there's a shift going on. Yeah, there's a shift going on right now. Not just in America, but globally, especially with, the technology and the social media. These backroom deals, that's over, man. You have to be transparent. We have to be transparent. You can't, the old, don't look behind the curtain and all that stuff. That might have worked back in the 30s, man, but, we are savvier people now. My kids, they with the technology and stuff, they know everything that's going on around the planet instantly. Like, it used to be like you would get a letter and, like when I was growing up in Australia, Dutch, the airmail was a big thing. Like, we had to send it airmail, which was a really flimsy piece of paper that didn't even have an envelope, right? You just had to fold it up, and it was special. And it came airmail, and it had to be so light, and that's how we got a letter. And it would still take, 10 days to get a letter from the United States. And when you made a phone call, it went through the trunk line under the, right? And it was like $3 a minute, and you could hardly hear. And it was just, that's how communication was so slow, and everybody just was. That ain't how it is anymore, and you can't do these backroom deals and not be transparent and do this secret stuff, because what is done, this is what we say in Get Warrior Tough, right? 3 lives. You have a secret life, you have a private life, and you have a public life. And what goes on in secret will become public eventually. There's no way to hide it now.
Absolutely. Now, I do think, again, the problem is when people point their emotion or energies at the wrong targets. Now, I do think there is an inclusion problem with the participation of whether it be females, whether it be younger people, whether it be different ethnicities, as we've already debunked that whole thing. But in the production part, who's funding these projects?
Yep.
Do I even have a chance to get a project funded? to have a chance to get my screenplay in front of the right people. Now, I think there are issues there. So you got to go all the way back to the beginning and talk about who's deciding to fund these movies, what type of money's out there that's available for it. And nothing different than a small business administration trying to help small business loans or small businesses get on their feet and stuff like that. We know that there's an old guard in those areas. So we begin to look at things like that. I think it's fine, but I just don't feel comfortable attacking an awards organization when an awards organization is really much of nothing. I mean, what is it? It's a one group. It's one group that's telling you how good or bad your work was. And think about this. You could win a Golden Globe. There are people who think the Golden Globe is more prestigious than the Oscar. Now, you know who doesn't think that? The Oscars.
Right.
And the Oscars has more money, it seems, than the Golden Globe, more history and all those things, it seems, so they seem more prestigious. But, again, if Will Smith, who I'm picking on him, wins the Golden Globe, wins this award, wins that award, and doesn't win an Oscar, and that continues, then the Oscar's going to fall by the wayside on its own. So you don't have to define yourself by a particular award. To me, that's embarrassing. This whole discussion is embarrassing if I'm Will Smith because I'm crying about an award.
Well, and I'll tell you, he's not crying, man. He's just doing what his wife told him to do. I'd do what she told me to do too, man. If she told me, stand up straight, I was yes, ma'am. But let me say, it reminds me, Dutch. Go ahead, man.
I was going to say more progress is going to come from trying to find money for small independent groups trying to get their projects funded. You're helping more people in those areas than you are crying about an award. Find the path to inclusion from the production, from the beginning. From finding artists jobs, finding artists opportunities, and all those things. Forget the awards.
Yeah.
Forget about that. Let's go to the beginning, and we know there's a problem with female directors getting opportunities. Yeah. There's a problem with just the projects getting off the ground when it comes to minorities, when it comes to gender, when it comes to age. There are lots, but let's go and affect what's really going to have an impact, not an award show like the Oscars.
Right, and it kind of reminds me of like the Hall of Fame stuff with baseball, right? All these old writers that don't even cover baseball anymore or get the vote, and they're not giving up their vote. They covered baseball in the 60s, and now they're still deciding who gets in and who doesn't, and half of them aren't even covering sports anymore, and they've moved on. It reminds me of that a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. Again, it goes to the point of being active and inactive, having that same type of influence or impact. And some of the guys, like you said, don't even have a job covering the game, don't even watch.
No, they don't watch
the
game. Right. But I'll tell you what, for the actors, at least Will could get the Golden Globes or the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Award or something. If you don't get in the Baseball Hall of Fame, you ain't got nowhere to go, man. Ask Pete Rose. I mean, there's no other. There's not like a backup, man. There isn't another competing Hall of Fame. I mean, at least these other guys have other awards. I mean, there's like an award show every other night on. Seems like.
We got to get on Pete Rose one day as well. That ought to be a great show.
He's not allowed in the hall. I love that commercial, man. He's not allowed in the hall. Oh, it's so funny. All right, so man, the hour's just about gone, Dutch. It was a very lively conversation, sir. Yeah, and I think that hopefully what people got from this is that you can have this conversation without the reckless emotion, without the harmful statements, without the accusations. Get to the root of the problem, break it down, get the information that's involved, get these factors, get all the factors, all the players, all the things that are involved, and try and paint this picture and find out what's going on. Get all the ingredients and, what they call it, reverse engineer it. And try to find out what's really going on instead of the inflammatory statements, the accusations, and all those things. And guess what, Andrew? You may find out that you're right. Maybe if you do all these things first, you do find out that it's racism. But the fact of the matter is, you did all these other things first. And then so logic and facts drove the discussion, not emotion. Right, not emotion. That's a beautiful thing when you can critically think and walk through the thing. And then when you know your conclusion is the conclusion. Dutch, we got to go. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, right? And just remember this, man. If it were possible, how would you do it?